I'm Tracy Sable. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, all eyes on the Supreme Court. The nation's highest court considers another major abortion case. We have team coverage and analysis. Outreach to China. New developments in the historic visit of a church leader to the communist country. A sacred trust. A bishop in Washington state weighs in on the importance of the seal of confession. Plus, 25 years old and still in college? We hear from the founder of a Catholic group that's focused on campus life. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us. Our top story tonight: at the Supreme Court, the justices are deciding whether to limit access to a widely used abortion pill. Earlier this week, Justice Samuel Alito delayed a ruling until tonight. Mifepristone is approved by the FDA, but many worry about its potential health dangers. Our Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales is back outside the court with the latest. Eric?
Pro-life and pro-abortion supporters continue to gather on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court. They are here over the justice's decision about the availability of the abortion drug mifepristone. I spoke with many of them about why they felt it was important to show up.
When the Food and Drug Administration approved the abortion pill, they shouldn't have. It causes more complications than surgical abortions, and it causes severe pain and bleeding, and women report emotional trauma afterwards. Women don't deserve that.
I have an issue with late-term abortions, etc. That is not acceptable to me, and I hope we have legislation to make sure that that's not allowed. But yeah, I don't have a problem with the abortion pill.
At the Capitol, lawmakers are also speaking out.
I'm adamantly pro-life. I hope that the current makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court, thanks to some of Trump's appointments, is pro-life. I hope they'll come down on the side of life.
We don't want a Supreme Court justice in our bedrooms telling us what to do, or a state official telling us what to do. We don't want somebody else dictating our economic freedom to choose when we want to have a family.
The abortion opponents who filed the case claim that the FDA's original approval of mifepristone 23 years ago and subsequent changes were flawed. The head of the FDA is worried about the effects a Supreme Court ruling could have on other drugs and more.
This includes a wide range of concerns ranging from the well-being of patients, including women who need access to this drug, the pharmaceutical industry, and our ability to implement our statutory authority. So the considerations are extensive.
But Congressman Chris Smith, who co-chairs the Congressional Pro-Life Caucus, tells me the FDA did not protect women and girls against the drug's side effects.
And all of that is just completely downplayed, underplayed, non-played by the group, the FDA, that's supposed to be the watchdog. And so this has been completely, absolutely politicized for abortion politics and for abortion promotion.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops has even weighed in. They want restrictions on the abortion drug and for it to be taken off the market. From outside the U.S. Supreme Court, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
While the Supreme Court is facing a self-imposed deadline of tonight to decide on the abortion pill's fate, the Biden administration has emphasized that it is prepared for any outcome the High Court may issue, and it is prepared for a long legal fight if necessary. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports.
The Biden administration has been a strong supporter of the abortion drug mifepristone, which the FDA approved back in the year 2000. It's been used by more than 5 million women. Pro-life advocates point out that's more than 5 million unborn children who never had a chance. In the briefing room, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre tells reporters,
if need be, we are prepared also for a long legal battle. That is our commitment and our promise to the millions of women across the country.
Also today in the Rose Garden, President Joe Biden signs an executive order creating the White House Office of Environmental Justice. Its goal, ensure poverty, race, and ethnic status don't lead to worse exposure to pollution and environmental harm.
Environmental justice will be the mission of the entire government, woven directly into how we work with state, local, tribal, and territorial governments.
Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says the U.S. will soon begin training Ukrainian forces on how to use Abrams tanks. Defense leaders met in Germany, the secretary promising that Ukraine will get what it needs to live in freedom.
Together, we will defend the rules-based international order that keeps us all secure. And together, we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes.
And in a speech at the Heritage Foundation's 50th Anniversary Leadership Summit in National Harbor, Maryland, prospective 2024 presidential candidate and current Florida Governor Ron DeSantis tells his audience,
my view is we got to go on offense. We need to be leaning into issues. We need to be raising issues when other people aren't willing to do it. And we are not going to worry about what the left and the media say about us. We are going to do what is right.
Tonight, President Biden is off to Camp David, and reports say that next week the president will officially announce that he's running again for office in 2024. Meanwhile, talk radio host Larry Elder just announced he's running. On the Republican side, he joins former President Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, and Asa Hutchinson. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
We go now to Chelsey Youman, Texas State Director and National Legislative Advisor for the pro-life group Human Coalition. Chelsey, welcome back. Always great to see you. First off, what are you expecting from the justices, and what could this ruling mean for abortion in America?
Yes, well, thank you for asking. All eyes are on Supreme Court watch right now, as you well know. We expect the justices to apply the laws to the facts and really affirm the lower court's decisions. The lower court decisions, both at the district court and then at the Fifth Circuit, were ironclad decisions. There's no doubt about it that the FDA illegally fast-tracked the abortion pill to get it approved in Clinton's final days in his administration. And they did so by miscategorizing abortion as a life-threatening illness alongside AIDS medication and cancer medication. And so from that point on, the FDA has crossed lines and their own laws along the way and really removed any semblance of safety protocols for women in the last few years. So that's all on the table, and we are just hopeful, both for children but also for their mothers, that they'll be protected from this dangerous pill regimen.
Chelsey, how does this case, how does it compare with the overturning of Roe versus Wade as far as significance for the pro-life movement?
Yes, I would have heard in legal circles that we anticipate this could save more lives than the Dobbs decision. And that's because the chemical abortion pill accounts for about 60% of the million abortions a year. And so upwards of 600,000 lives anticipated to be saved every single year if mifepristone is taken off the market. Additionally, I think it's really important to note, people aren't talking about this, but Judge Kaczmarek at the district court had a resounding opinion for life, for unborn children. He re-engaged the Comstock law, which makes it illegal to sell any abortion materials. Secondarily, he started engaging equal protection arguments under the Constitution for children in the womb. Those are huge victories and really begin the landscape of what is our hopeful future for children in the womb.
Yeah, and Chelsey, since we're on that, can you remind us, for those who aren't that familiar, about this particular case in Texas that started the whole process? I understand that you wrote an amicus brief on behalf of the pro-life group that brought this case forward.
Yes, this case is really brought by gynecologists who are pro-life, saying we are seeing firsthand the harms that the pill causes women. This is not a safe pill, and the FDA, as I mentioned, illegally approved this pill and removed safety protocols along the way. We at Human Coalition have a unique perspective of women because we're serving women across the country who are seeking abortion services. And what they do is they call us. Sometimes they go on to get an abortion pill, take that pill, and then they're shocked, horrified, and traumatized by the experiences they have with that pill. And so, yes, while we know there's always a child as a victim, a dead body at the end of this process, there's also a victim in the mom. And it's the best kept secret that nobody on the other side wants you to hear their stories. They want to pretend this pill is as safe as a Tylenol, but we have their stories and we put them on the record for these courts at every juncture of this appeal, because we want the courts to know women are harmed and endangered by this pill as a second victim of the pill.
Chelsey, we have about 20 seconds or left, but final thoughts of what we're seeing take place in the Supreme Court.
Yes, I think this is the Wild West, and we as pro-lifers need to be prayerful for these judges and justices getting threats every day. Go to humancoalition.org to learn more how you can support our work serving women and saving lives.
Chelsey, thank you so much for coming on and for your insights. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
Well, the Pentagon is preparing to evacuate the U.S. Embassy in Sudan. This as Sudan's top general says the military is committed to a transition to civilian rule. The remarks come as the Northeast African nation is in the sixth day of bloodshed. Thus far, around 400 civilians have been killed and several thousand have been injured. There are hopes for another ceasefire in honor of the end of the holy month of Ramadan. But the White House is ready to ask all embassy personnel to leave the country. The former head of the Bishops' Conference in Germany is giving up the nation's highest honor. Robert Zolich, the former Archbishop of Freiburg, is returning the Order of Merit Award that he received back in 2014. This after receiving heavy criticism for the way that he handled clergy abuse cases during his time as Archbishop. The Bishop of Hong Kong has invited the state-appointed Archbishop of Beijing to visit his home country.
認識咧，其實咁多位朋友啊，人與人之間嘅認識。
Bishop Stephen Chow aims to strengthen ties between the two dioceses during his visit to the communist-ruled country. Today, he celebrated Mass in the capital's church and greeted Chinese Catholics outside. Today marks his last day in Beijing. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including the seal of confession. A bishop in Washington state responds to lawmakers who are targeting the sacrament. And a focus on mission. We celebrate the 25th anniversary of a popular U.S. ministry. The head of the diocese in Washington state says that he and his priests are ready to go to jail rather than break the seal of confession. Bishop Thomas Daly from the Diocese of Spokane made the remarks this week in a letter to the faithful. Lawmakers in the state are considering a measure to end legal protections for the seal of confession. It would also make priests mandatory reporters of sexual abuse. The governor of Mississippi has signed into law several pieces of pro-life and pro-family legislation. The move by the Republican governor comes as the state seeks to push a new pro-life agenda. In his remarks this week, Governor Tate Reeves says the new measures prove the state's commitment to life. The new rules expand the tax credit for pregnancy resource centers and allow for safe haven baby boxes across the state. Hundreds of people are in Texas this week attending the 2023 Young Catholic Professionals Conference. The theme for this year's conference is The Little Way. It is inspired by the writings of St. Therese of Lisieux. Speakers include Catholic songwriter and performer Margaret Knapp, American entrepreneur Sam Goodwin, and undercover boss participant Dina Dwyer Owens. Joining us now to continue the discussion is Peter Blute, Chief Operating Officer of Young Catholic Professionals. He is also the conference MC. Peter, great to be with you today. We appreciate it. Can you tell us a little bit more about the conference and what attendees can expect from this wonderful three-day event?
We have an amazing weekend planned here. We've got about 700 people from all over the country coming together in Dallas, Texas here for our national conference. This is our climax every year for the YCP network to come together in celebration, to learn, and especially this year to learn about this amazing saint, St. Therese of Lisieux. And so YCP's conference, it's a mixture of a spiritual retreat, a professional conference, and a little bit of vacation built in there as well. So we weave those elements together to really create a lasting and memorable experience that also can spiritually transform us as well.
Yeah, and this year's theme, of course, is inspired by the writings of St. Therese. What more can you tell us about this incredible saint and how her work will be weaved into the different sessions?
Yeah, well, we typically draw from some kind of very important Catholic text as the inspiration. So drawing from the story of a soul, St. Therese's diary, is the underpinnings of the whole weekend. And so what we do is we pull out little elements of her life, of her experience, and we have both lay and professional, or lay and religious speakers draw out those and apply them to this mission YCP has of working in witness for Christ. So we're going to be talking about her little way. What does that mean? How do we take part in that little way, leading us towards God in deeper relationship with Him and with our faith and with His Son, Jesus Christ? And so we have a series of different keynotes that will draw on different topics, beautiful masses with wonderful priests who can talk to us about the spiritual implications of the little way. And we're even going to have a workshop Saturday afternoon that's going to bring to life the little way practically in terms of business challenges that we may encounter as Catholic professionals working out in the world. We'll culminate on Saturday night with a total blowout gala. It's going to be a blast. We have Sam Goodwin speaking about his experience as a Catholic traveling all over the world, and then we'll have a Latin band come in to finish off the evening. So we're really excited. It's going to be such a blast.
Yeah, it sounds like it for sure. I know one thing, many young adults struggle with is trying to keep their faith alive in their daily jobs. Talk to us about how Catholics can really bring their faith to the workplace. What can they do?
Well, the first thing we talk about that comes up most often at YCP is that you don't have to be in the right job at the right time in your life, in the right company to bring your faith into work. You can start right now, and it may start in very, very small ways. But a lot of what our speakers and our members talk about is what are those little moments that we can infuse our faith into. So, for example, as simple as sending an email. What if you don't want to write an email, right? How can you infuse your faith into that and say, God, this is not something I want to do right now, but as St. Therese calls us to, I'm going to have this be a little moment that I can hopefully turn into something sanctifying. And so when we start to build these little moments together, they become something grander. They become something that can be something truly sanctifying for us and help draw us closer to being the modern day saints that we're called to be. And so these are the types of topics and themes that are coming up at YCP so that we can take our 40, 50, 60 plus hours a week as young professionals in the workplace, often in highly secular environments, and find ways to have it be both a spiritual growth opportunity for ourselves and, we pray, an opportunity we can courageously share our faith with others and be a real tool for evangelization.
Peter, we're almost out of time, but quickly, can you tell us how people can learn more about the organization? And also, do you have any, final messages for young Catholics?
You can learn all about YCP and find a chapter near you at youngcatholicprofessionals.org. We have chapters in 33 cities, and we're expecting to grow significantly over the coming years. So we'll be in a large city soon near you if we aren't yet. I think our real challenge is to seek always to work in witness for Christ, and so we can integrate our faith into every moment of our life. And so I would encourage young professionals, young Catholics, to find people to journey with, a community that can support you, and ultimately this is about learning and growing in our faith together so that we can accomplish this great journey that we're called to, seeking heaven and seeking sainthood, God willing.
Well, Peter, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We really appreciate it. Good to be with you. God bless.
Thank you, Tracy.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, focusing on Christ. We look at a popular ministry celebrating 25 years. This year marks a major milestone for a Catholic group that does outreach on U.S. college campuses. Focus, an acronym for Fellowship of Catholic University Students, is turning 25 years old. Focus missionaries receive training, then are sent to college campuses. There, they encourage students to develop a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Joining us now from Rome is Curtis Martin, founder and CEO of Focus. Curtis, great to be with you, and congratulations on your milestone. That is just wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit more about Focus, and also how many missionaries you have and how many students have been helped along the way?
Sure, Tracy, thanks. Great to be with you as well. Focus started 25 years ago. We're celebrating our anniversary. And we started with 2 part-time missionaries at that time. And over the years, every year we've grown. And now we have almost 1,000 full-time missionaries serving 50,000 or more students, and have already reached another 50,000 who graduated and are on doing other things in life now as hopefully missionary disciples. We've been able to see the impact. We're trying to do what Jesus asked us to do. At the end of his life, the last thing that Jesus said was, go make disciples of all nations. So we're trying to reach people, invite them to faith in Jesus Christ and to live as disciples, and then invite others to do the same. And in doing so, we hope to reach this generation in this generation.
And Curtis, tell us exactly how, it started, how Focus started, and why did you decide to target college campuses?
Great question. In some ways, Focus started right here on EWTN. It was doing a show with Scott Hahn and Mother Angelica, and she asked us why we were there. We said to launch the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. Within the year, we had invited a couple of people to join us as part-time missionaries and began to train them. Dr. Hahn was working with us, Tim Gray, Ted Sri, and others, and it's just been wonderful to watch. We send recent college graduates, after some training and formation, back onto college campuses with a team, and they start to share life with college students, share their faith with college students, and invite them to live as disciples.
That is just so incredible. I'm also curious, how is Focus celebrating its 25th anniversary? What can you tell us about that? Do you have any special events planned?
Well, one of the things I want to do for our 25th anniversary is do an interview with you, so thank you for that. I'm also here in Rome right now with our team. We've got our board members who are celebrating the anniversary. We've got other key volunteers and senior staff. Earlier today, we were at the tomb of St. Paul praying, the greatest evangelist of all times, praying for his intercession and at his side. And then just a few minutes ago, I was at the tomb of St. Peter with my wife and others, again, praying for the intercession of these great founders of the church for the grace to continue to serve and bring more and more people to a living faith and a saving faith in Jesus Christ.
That is great. It's so wonderful. Curtis, before I let you go, what else would you like people to know about Focus?
Well, I'd like people to know that really the news that's out there frequently makes it sound like the world is falling apart, and it is in many, many ways. But the white-hot core of the Catholic Church is growing. It's growing. We've watched, literally in the last 25 years, over 1,000 young people not only embrace Christ, but embrace religious and seminary vocations on their way to the priesthood. Half of them in the last 5 years. To be able to see the momentum that's being generated, to be able to see that young people are choosing Christ, choosing the Catholic faith in the midst of a world that's becoming more and more hostile to Jesus and our Catholic Church. But the reality of the matter is when Jesus is preached vibrantly and effectively, people respond. I like to say that light shines farther in the darkness than it does in the daytime. In the daytime, you can see the sun. At nighttime, you can see the stars. And we have to recognize that our college campuses and our culture in general are in a very, very dark place. And people are suffering. We think everybody's happy and having a great time. They're not. They're miserable. Recent reports said that 60% of young women are suffering depression. That's not acceptable. Half of those have thought about suicide. People without Christ are miserable. We're trying to get the word out because we really believe that Jesus Christ is the key, not only to eternal salvation, that's really important, but also to a meaningful life here on earth. And so to be able to recognize we're going to have great relationships not only with God, but with one another if we allow the truth and goodness of Christ to radiate out of us through the fruits of the Holy Spirit.
Oh, Curtis, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. We appreciate it. Congratulations again, and God bless you and all that you do. Finally tonight, we continue to reflect on the 100th anniversary of Mother Angelica's birth with a look at the legacy she left behind.
I think she'd be very, very happy about what EWTN has become and how it has continued to stay true to that mission of allowing God to accomplish the miraculous through the work that EWTN does.
And you can see more of that interview tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on EWTN News in Depth. And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sable. Good night, and God bless.